Have you ever noticed that the people you live with in old age can either bring you peace or steal your life? As we get older, our physical space shrinks, but the emotional impact of the people around us grows larger than ever. And what many seniors don't realize is that everything can depend entirely on who you spend your time or share your home with. This isn't about choosing perfect people. It's about being intentional with your environment, especially when the wrong presence can drain you more than age ever will. In this video, we're exploring 3 kinds of people you should absolutely keep close to you, and 3 you should lovingly but firmly keep at a distance. Because while companionship is important, the type of companionship matters even more. Whether you live with family, a friend, or someone who helps out around the house, recognizing these 6 patterns can help you protect your well-being in powerful ways. So stay tuned until the end, because once you understand these 6 people, 3 to welcome in and 3 to distance yourself from, you might just see your own life and the people in it through a much clearer and more compassionate lens. This isn't about judgment, it's about creating a space that supports the version of yourself you still want to be. Let's get started. People to live with. 1. Someone who respects your routines. One of the clearest signs that you're living in peace during your later years is when the people around you respect your rhythm, your meals, your rest, your way of doing things. And while this might sound like a small thing, it actually makes a world of difference. Because as we age, our bodies crave routine, our minds function better with consistency, and our sense of safety often comes from the predictable patterns we've built over time. So when someone enters your space who honors those patterns instead of interrupting or dismissing them, it creates a deep feeling of respect and stability that's hard to describe, but easy to feel. Living with someone who respects your routine doesn't mean they have to live exactly like you. It just means they're willing to adjust, or at least not disturb, what keeps you steady. Whether that's letting you have your quiet coffee in the morning, before turning on the TV, or remembering that you like your evening walks at the same time. Every day, these gestures tell you that your preferences still matter. And when you feel seen and considered, you're more likely to thrive emotionally and physically. There's also a psychological truth here that many people overlook. When others dismiss your routines, it can feel like they're dismissing you. Like your ways are outdated, your pace is too slow, or your needs are inconvenient. And that's a painful place to live, especially in your own home. But when someone works with you instead of around you, it tells you that your presence isn't just tolerated, it's appreciated. That alone can lift your confidence and help you feel more in control of your life. I remember speaking with a man named Leonard, 84, who shared his experience living with his grandson for a while. At first, Leonard felt nervous. He didn't want to get in the way or be seen as the old guy who slows things down. But to his surprise, his grandson made a real effort to match Leonard's pace. He waited to eat breakfast with him, adjusted his schedule so they could watch the news together, and never rushed him when they went out. Leonard told me, "He made me feel like I was still the man of the house, not just someone being looked after." That kind of respect isn't loud or flashy, but it's powerful. When you're surrounded by someone who respects your flow of life, you stop bracing for disruption. You begin to relax, to open up, to enjoy things again. Even something as simple as knowing your quiet time will be honored can help lower stress, improve sleep, and increase your sense of dignity. Because in old age, peace often isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small, consistent acts of consideration that tell you you're still valued. That's why the first kind of person you want to live with is someone who respects your rhythm. Someone who doesn't just visit your life, but learns how to move with it. People to live with. 2. Someone who brings calm, not chaos. There's something deeply healing about being around a calm person. Their presence feels like a steady breeze instead of a storm. And in your later years, when your body may already be dealing with aches, medications, doctor's visits, or just the quiet hum of aging, the last thing you need is someone whose energy keeps you on edge. That's why living with someone who brings calm instead of chaos isn't just about comfort. It's about protecting your health, your nerves, and your emotional balance. We often underestimate how sensitive we become to noise, tension, or even fast movements as we grow older. What once felt tolerable, a loud voice, slamming doors, frantic pacing, or unpredictable behavior, can now feel overwhelming, even jarring. And when you're sharing a home or close space with someone whose energy is high-strung or emotionally erratic, your body pays the price. Your sleep gets disrupted. Your heart rate climbs, and you find yourself constantly on alert, even if there's no real threat. Over time, this can drain your immune system and take away the one thing your home should always provide: peace. Living with someone who brings calm means living with someone who knows how to regulate their own emotions. They don't explode when things go wrong. They don't project their stress onto you. They don't bring in the drama of the outside world and leave it all over the kitchen table. Instead, they move with intention. They speak with warmth, and they know how to take a deep breath before reacting, something that sounds simple, but can make all the difference when you share space with someone every day. Let me tell you about a woman named Ruth, age 79, who lived with her adult daughter for several months after a minor surgery. Ruth told me the experience changed her, because for the first time in years, she felt herself truly relax. Her daughter Melissa had a gentle presence. She didn't rush her, didn't interrupt her, and didn't bring loud energy into the house. Ruth said, "It was like living with a warm blanket around me all the time." And what stood out most, her healing went faster than expected. Her doctor even commented on how quickly she bounced back. There's real science behind that. Calm environments support healing. They help lower cortisol, the stress hormone, which affects everything from inflammation to blood pressure. They also help with memory, digestion, and even joint pain. But beyond the science is something even more important. The way calmness makes you feel safe. Safe to rest, safe to think, safe to be yourself without having to protect yourself from someone else's emotional waves. So if you're considering who to live with or who to spend your time around most, think about how you feel when that person walks in the room. Do you feel at ease or do you brace yourself? Do you breathe deeper or hold your breath? That one feeling can tell you everything you need to know. Because in this season of life, calm isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. People to live with 3, someone who makes you feel useful. One of the most overlooked needs we have as we age is the need to still feel needed. Not in a dramatic or overwhelming way, but in those small, everyday moments that remind us we still have value to give. When you live with someone who makes you feel useful, it doesn't just brighten your day, it grounds your identity. Because deep down, we all want to know we're still contributing, still part of something, still capable of making a difference, even in the smallest ways. There's a quiet dignity in being asked to help with something. Maybe it's folding towels, sharing a recipe, watering plants, or giving advice about a car or a budget. When someone in your life continues to involve you, not just out of politeness, but because they genuinely respect your input, you feel a spark that many seniors quietly miss. It's not about being the strongest person in the room. It's about being someone whose presence still matters. And when you're surrounded by people who see that in you, you naturally stand a little taller. The emotional impact of this is bigger than people realize. When older adults feel unnecessary or like a burden, their energy declines. They become quieter, more withdrawn, and sometimes even physically weaker. But when you're reminded day after day that you still bring something of worth to the table, even if it's a memory, a story, or a set of wise hands, you begin to light up again. You start participating more, speaking up more, and feeling like life still has your name on it. Let me tell you about a man named Frank, 81, who moved in with his niece after his wife passed. Frank thought he'd just be quietly keeping to himself, but his niece surprised him. She asked his opinion when she paid her bills. She let him review her garden plans. She even asked him to teach her kids how to use a toolbox. Frank told me, "She made me feel like I wasn't just living there, I was contributing." That subtle shift in how he was treated gave him a new sense of purpose. He started smiling more, cooking again, and even fixing up little things around the house. This sense of being useful doesn't require any big skills or grand gestures. It could be as simple as listening, or telling a child about the past, or reminding someone to slow down when they're making a decision. When people let you step into that role, even for 5 minutes, it reminds you of your worth. And when you live with someone who sees that in you every day, you're not just aging, you're still growing. Living with someone who sees your value and invites you to express, it is one of the most powerful ways to stay mentally sharp, emotionally fulfilled, and even physically strong. Because being needed isn't about ego, it's about connection. And when you feel connected to the people around you, your whole life takes on more meaning. That's the kind of home you want. One where you're not just cared for, but counted on. People to keep at a distance 1. Someone who constantly criticizes. Nothing can chip away at your spirit faster than living with someone who always seems to find fault. It starts small, a comment about how you folded the laundry or the way you poured your coffee. But over time, those constant little criticisms build up like rust on your self-esteem. And if you're not careful, they begin to shape how you see yourself. Not as a capable, wise, and worthy person, but as someone who's always doing something wrong. In your later years, you need encouragement, not correction. You need companionship, not correctional supervision. The danger of living with a chronic critic isn't just emotional, it's psychological and even physical. When you feel judged or second-guessed in your own home, your stress levels rise. You begin to brace yourself for the next comment. Your shoulders tense. Your sleep gets lighter. You stop expressing yourself freely. Over time, you may even begin to withdraw from conversation altogether, simply because it feels safer to stay quiet than to risk being corrected again. That kind of environment is not a home, it's a silent battlefield. There's also a deeper psychological layer here that's often overlooked. When someone constantly criticizes you, it's not always about you. It's often about their own discomfort, their need for control, or their lack of emotional maturity. But when you're on the receiving end of it day after day, that distinction becomes blurry. You start to internalize it. You begin to second-guess your memory, your preferences, your pace. And that's the real cost. It's not just the hurt feelings, but the erosion of your confidence. I once spoke with a woman named Carolyn, 76, who moved in with her adult son after her arthritis made it hard to manage on her own. At first, she was grateful. But as the weeks passed, her son began making remarks about how she loaded the dishwasher, how long it took her to get dressed, how she repeated stories. None of it was said with outright cruelty, but the tone was there. That edge of impatience, of superiority. Carolyn said, "It wasn't what he said, it was how it made me feel. Like I was shrinking a little every day." Eventually, she started staying in her room more, avoiding meals and even doubting her own memory. Criticism, especially when it's constant and uninvited, is a form of emotional wear and tear. And in your older years, when you're already facing changes in your health or energy, you need to be around people who help you rise, not feel like you need to defend yourself all the time. Constructive feedback is one thing, but if someone in your life only seems to point out what you're doing wrong, and rarely, if ever, what you're doing right, it may be time to create some distance. Because the truth is, your later years should be filled with warmth, support, and the freedom to be yourself without fear of being corrected at every turn. You've lived too much life to be walking on eggshells in your own home. And protecting your peace sometimes means stepping away from voices that are more critical than kind. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. People to keep at a distance 2. Someone who is financially reckless. It might not be the first thing you think about when deciding who to live with in your later years, but the financial habits of the people around you can quietly shape your entire sense of security. Especially when you're retired or living on a fixed income, even one person's impulsive decisions can ripple through your daily life in ways you never expected. Whether it's constant borrowing, poor budgeting, or getting into debt that spills over into shared expenses, financial recklessness can turn a peaceful household into a place of quiet anxiety. Living with someone who is careless with money doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it shows up in little things, unexpected Amazon packages, takeout dinners when groceries were already tight, late bill payments, or frequent requests to cover just this once. But those small habits add up. And when you're older, the margin for error is smaller. You've worked your whole life to build whatever savings or stability you have. You shouldn't have to watch it slowly unravel because someone else treats your home like a bank. Or worse, a safety net they never plan to repay. Financial recklessness is also about respect. When someone ignores shared responsibilities or shrugs off consequences, what they're really saying is that your peace of mind doesn't matter as much as their convenience. And that creates a constant undertone of stress, even if no one's raising their voice. You begin to wonder if the bills will get paid, if you can still afford your medication, or if you'll be put in a position where you have to choose between speaking up or keeping the peace. Let me tell you about Harold, age 83, who allowed his grandson to move in after he lost his job. Harold had a kind heart, and he believed in giving people a second chance. But over time, he noticed that his utility bills were creeping up. Food was disappearing faster, and his credit card, which he rarely used, had charges he didn't recognize. When he brought it up, his grandson dismissed it as nothing to worry about. But Harold was worried. He told me, "I started to feel like I was losing control of my own home. Not just financially, but emotionally." Eventually, Harold had to make the difficult decision to ask his grandson to leave. Not out of anger, but out of self-protection. And that's what this all comes down to: protection. Not just of your bank account, but of your boundaries. Of your ability to make decisions for yourself without feeling pressured or manipulated. Living with someone who respects money is about more than numbers. It's about trust, communication, and shared responsibility. You shouldn't have to monitor someone else's spending just to sleep peacefully at night. If you've noticed that someone in your life is careless with money, or if you're constantly covering for their habits, it might be time to draw a clearer line. Because financial chaos, no matter how quietly it begins, can create long-term damage to your health, your housing, and your peace of mind. You deserve to live with someone who understands that stability isn't just a goal in old age, it's a lifeline. And anyone who risks that, even unintentionally, is someone to think twice about sharing space with. People to keep at a distance. 3. Someone who dismisses your health needs. Few things feel more defeating than asking for help or setting a boundary around your health only to be ignored, questioned, or brushed off. When someone you live with refuses to acknowledge your physical limitations, your medical needs, or even your basic comfort, it doesn't just create tension, it chips away at your dignity. Because in your later years, protecting your health isn't optional, it's essential. And anyone who treats your needs like they're an inconvenience is someone who doesn't belong in your most personal space. Dismissive behavior can show up in many subtle ways. Maybe it's someone insisting you don't need that cane, or pushing you to skip your afternoon nap because we're on a schedule. It could be a person who forgets to pick up your prescriptions or makes jokes about your dietary restrictions when others are around. Even something as simple as turning up the thermostat too high when they know you're heat sensitive, or leaving the house without telling. You can quietly send a message that your well-being isn't being considered. There's a psychological weight to that kind of environment. When your health isn't respected, your sense of safety disappears. You stop speaking up because it feels easier to stay quiet than be made to feel dramatic or needy. You start second-guessing your pain, your fatigue, or your right to say no. And that internal pressure can wear you down faster than any illness. Because at its core, being dismissed isn't just about the body, it's about the loss of voice. And as we grow older, keeping that voice, your ability to advocate for yourself, is one of the most important things you have. Let me tell you about Ethel, age 80, who spent a few months living with a relative while recovering from a fall. Ethel needed help with meals, mobility, and medication, but the person she stayed with rarely followed through. Meals were skipped or delayed. Doctors' instructions were ignored. When Ethel asked for assistance, she was often met with sighs or told she was overreacting. Eventually, she stopped asking altogether, and her health declined. Ethel told me, "I didn't just feel like a burden, I started to believe I was one." That's the hidden damage of living with someone who dismisses your needs. It's not always loud or angry, but it's quietly destructive. And it's why choosing your living environment in old age isn't just about space or cost. It's about who respects your right to be cared for properly. The people closest to you should be the ones who see your needs and respond to them, not out of duty, but out of love and understanding. If you find yourself walking on eggshells, avoiding necessary requests, or pretending you're fine just to keep the peace, take that as a sign. You deserve to be around someone who hears you the first time, someone who helps you protect your health instead of pushing your limits. Because aging doesn't take away your right to be heard, it makes that right even more important. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, I want you to take a moment to reflect on the 6 types of people we've just talked about. 3 who can bring light, comfort, and strength into your life. And 3 who may quietly steal your peace, your confidence, and even your health. In old age, the company we keep matters more than ever. Because at this stage, we're not chasing approval, status, or recognition. We're protecting our time, our energy, and our dignity. And who we share that with can make all the difference. This isn't about blaming people or expecting perfection. It's about setting boundaries that protect your well-being. Your home should be your sanctuary, a place where you're allowed to slow down, breathe deeply, and be seen, not as someone who's just getting older, but as someone who still matters deeply. And that starts with being intentional about who stands beside you every day. You've spent a lifetime taking care of others. Now it's your turn to be surrounded by those who truly care for you. People who honor your pace. People who bring peace into the room. People who make you feel alive and included, not overlooked. That kind of living is not a luxury, it's a right. One that you absolutely deserve. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.